Let's start out by reviewing what we try to strive for in the relational world in the third normal form, because I think it'll motivate a lot of the trade-offs that we talk about in the MongoDB world. So let's look at this is a bit of a review for people who come from the relational world. Let's look at a potential schema for a posts table for the blog project that we've been talking about. And this isn't the whole thing, this is just the post itself plus the authors. So let's say that you had a post table and you decided to have a post ID and a title and a body. So these are the different titles of these posts, like Elvis lives, and the body says yes he does. And the author of the post here, Andrew, and then the author email, andrew@tengen.com. The second post in the table says Mongo rocks, and it was written by Richard, and it has his email, richard@tengen.com. And the third one has title Hello World, and it was written by Andrew, and it has the email andrew@tengen.com. So this is a denormalized table structure in the relational world. It's not the third normal form. It's broken, and it's broken very clearly, because you can see right here that if I want to update my email, let's say the email for Andrew, I would have to update it here and also here. And there's a possibility of leaving it inconsistent. I could update it in this row, but not update it in this row, and therefore leave it inconsistent. And you can pretty much see that this violates normalization, because it violates a common way of describing normalized tables in the third normal form, which is that every non-key attribute in the table must provide a fact about the key, the whole key, and nothing but the key. And that's sort of a play on words for what you say in a U.S. courtroom, telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And in particular, the key in this is the post. This is going to be the primary key for this table, and there is this attribute, this non-key attribute, author email, which does not follow that, because it does in fact tell something about the author, and so it violates that third normal form. And if you remember from the world of relational, having a database table in the third normal form, there's several good things about that, and I'll show you what they are. All right, so what are the goals of normalization in the relational world? Well, there's three goals. One is that it frees the database of these modification anomalies, like, for instance, the one I just showed you, where I could update my email address in one row but not update it in another, and therefore leave it inconsistent within the database. And the next is that it's supposed to minimize the redesign when extending the database. Now this, I think, is a little bit controversial whether it does that or not, but that's the idea of normalization. And the final reason that you normalize these tables in a relational world is this one, is to avoid any bias toward a particular access pattern. Now, when we look at building systems within MongoDB, and we look at the schema that we designed in MongoDB, this is the one that we're not going to worry about. And the reason is that when you're not biased toward any particular access pattern, you're equally bad at all of them. And one of the ideas behind MongoDB is to tune up your database to the application that you're trying to write and the problem that you're trying to solve. And so we're not going to worry about avoiding the bias toward any particular access pattern. Now, we are going to worry about this. We don't want to have to redesign the whole system every time we change something. And MongoDB is very flexible that way, because we can add keys and attributes to documents without changing every existing document. And then the last one is freeing the database of these modification anomalies. And although you might think that embedding the data would cause these, it doesn't have to. And in fact, we're mostly going to avoid embedding data in documents in MongoDB in ways that create these anomalies. So we're going to be careful not to create them for the most part. Occasionally, for performance reasons, we're going to decide that we do want to duplicate the data within the document, but it's not going to. But that's not going to be the default. The default is that we're going to avoid it so that we don't have these types of anomalies where data can be inconsistently changed. And in some applications, you might want to allow it and it doesn't matter, or you might want to keep it up to date in the application, but mostly we're going to avoid it.